And then once we did it with one batch of growth, it's like, well, now we know we're going to grow again. So just replicate it and then replicate it and then replicate it. And that's kind of how we've built.
You have found Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggle stories and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. Downloadable audio episodes can be found in the podcast link found at drawincustomers.com. We are locally underwritten by the Bank of Sun Prairie, Calls on Call Extraordinary Answering Service, as well as the Bold Business Book. And today we're welcoming / preparing you to learn from Joe Rare of Level 9 Virtual. So Joe, how is it going today?
Oh, it's good. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm excited to learn more of what you got, because when you reached out, we got virtual administration stuff, we got some call answering stuff, you got some stories about the pandemic and how you got to, I'm going to dare use the word pivot. So
Yeah.
let's just start with day one. When did you start Level 9?
That's up for debate. We can't figure out what the original date was, which is sad. But I
Hey,
mean,
you
kind
could
of the way
lie
the
to us, we
company,
wouldn't know, right?
yeah, I mean, kind of the way the company started was I learned about outsourcing and using virtual assistants back in the 4-hour work week days, right? Tim Ferriss introduced that to me.
Way back when.
Yeah, so '07, I think or so, was when I learned about it. And November of 2008 was when I hired my first virtual assistant full time. And then I've had at least one, if not a team, working with me every single day since that day. And
Wow.
so I've figured it out. It's how I build businesses. I leverage, virtual services and so that's really been kind of the backbone of how we actually operate businesses and how we build companies. And so I had a team of VAs. We're running a business, and my clients are saying, "Well, how do you get your team?" And I'm like, "Well, here, this is how I do it." And I started telling everybody and all of my clients. And finally, one of my virtual assistants came to me and said, "Hey, Joe, you do know that you could charge for that, right? Like you could have a virtual assistant company." And I was like, "Yeah, but I don't want to do that." And then she actually brought me, she goes, "This is how many people you've helped sign up for VAs just over the past year." And I started looking at the numbers and I was like, that's a real business.
Oh,
And
nice.
so I said, all right, well, if you guys will run it, I'll help build it. And so we built the business, but it was only to service our clients and let them have VAs. And so when we did that, it was doing fine. And then I just, I shut down one business and kind of restarted. And I thought, hey, the way that I did that, I could scale the virtual assistant business using the same model. And I kind of figured out how to do some things very, very kind of without me involved. And as soon as I figured that out, the virtual assistant company exploded. And so that was, kind of, somewhere around like 2016, 2015, somewhere in there. Yeah.
Okay.
And
So
so,
did you have a different business that you needed the VAs for then?
oh yeah, and marketing agency.
Oh,
Yeah.
you did? Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, so I've had marketing agencies. The first set of VAs I hired were for my e-commerce business back in 2008. Had that, ran that until 2014, which that was great. And I got to travel and just kind of screw around. And I was, kind of living this nomad lifestyle, like I was sharing with you offline. And it was great and it was fun. And then, the one piece of advice I didn't follow with the 4-hour work week was don't sell ingestibles. And I sold ingestibles and it was a supplement. And then the FDA one day decided that, homeopathic products were not going to be allowed to be sold. And so I woke up one morning and my merchant account was shut down and out of business instantly. So we started taking checks in the mail, which was awesome. ACH transfers, wire transfers, and we started doing all that just to keep it going for a while longer. And then realizing I'm not going to fight the FDA, I don't stand a chance. And then I moved on, and people started asking, "Well, how'd you get so many customers, and how'd you do that?" And I was like, "Well, I'm kind of good at marketing, so I opened a marketing agency because why not?" And got some good clients doing that. And then that business, we just got bloated. I think I was listening to too much Gary Vee, and we got to have 1,000 employees. And so I put 27 US employees sitting in desks with computers and ergonomic chairs and all the stuff. So nobody had a bad back or any of that stuff, and found out that that's super high overhead. And if the business doesn't grow and it's not, able to sustain itself, it can implode really quick. And so the quick-ish version of that story was I had a business partner in it who was supposed to be developing business. He was the BD guy. and decided not to bring any new business. And we had about 40% of all of our revenue tied up in two clients, and they both happened to cancel within like a 3 week period.
Ooh.
And we were in the black, we were in the red like instantly. And I went, oh, okay, this is bad. But I'm an optimist. I'm a serial optimist. And so I thought, no big deal, right? We just replace the clients, we replace the revenue. It's going to be great. And months go by, and I'm burning my own personal cash and debt to pay payroll.
Wrong direction, right?
Wrong direction. And I'm taking all that and I'm eating it. And my wife's not happy with it. And, things aren't working out. And then so finally we shut the business down. And
Close it
so,
up.
yeah, fired 27 people. Like I got sued for my office lease because
Oh,
I
wow.
still owed 3 years on my office lease, which was like $180,000. So I got sued for that, and I had a judgment, and I went and I settled, and we got all that taken care of. And then I was like, I'm an entrepreneur though. I can't go work for somebody. I'll die. And so I said, all right, told my wife, I said, sorry, but I'm doing this again. And so she's like, well, we'll see how long that lasts. But I just said, okay, I got to get back to my roots. Like, I'm the VA guy. Where did all these US employees come from? Like, I'm a virtual assistant guy. And so I said, all right, just using virtual assistants, I'm going to launch a business. And I took some advice from a friend of mine who said, one niche, one service, do it better than anybody. And so I reopened a marketing agency servicing only wedding venues and did one thing for wedding venues and helped them book more weddings. And it was simple. And so then I had one virtual assistant prospect. He teed me up with people in conversation. I closed the sale, and then I had a team fulfill the service. Easy. As it kept going, and we went from 0 to 100 grand a month in 4 months. And then I went, oh, okay, I think I got it. And then another 2 or 3 months later, we doubled. And then I paid off all my debt, because I had about $250,000 in debt from trying to pay payroll like an idiot, and covered all of that. And then it was, okay, I figured this out. And that's when I decided, oh, I could do the same thing with the VA company. I can scale that. And so we did the exact same thing. And then that company eclipsed everything else. So there's the
Nice.
long story.
Yeah. Tell me, you hit on a lot of topics there, so I want
Yeah.
to take them based on memory here. Tell me about, so you had a supplement company, is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Homeopathic supplements. Yeah.
tell me about the merchant account being shut down. What's that all about?
So you start to understand pretty quickly, and I think people get it a little more now, that like all things at finance, government, they're all connected. And get however conspiracy theorist you want, there's strings being pulled and everything is orchestrated. And it takes something like the FDA, one phone call, to say this product cannot be processed, payments can't be processed for it. And
Just like that.
instantly the whole system shuts down and cuts it off. And
Wow.
so then there's some outliers. Like we found a couple merchant accounts that it's like, yeah, we'll do high risk stuff. And it's essentially, it's kind of like, hey, we just won't say what it is that's being sold in the back end reporting. And so some people figured it out. I just realized that it was going to be this uphill battle that was always going to be a problem, and that eventually I'm not going to win. And that product today doesn't exist anymore. And so it's
All
like,
right.
whatever. Yeah.
It's just a
So
shell game, so to
it,
speak. Yeah.
yeah, in essence, I mean, there's a lot of people who have had way worse happen in business, where they've got way bigger businesses that all of a sudden somebody goes, nope, that person, nope. I mean, we just, I mean, I don't want to get overly political, but like it just happened to the future president's wife and son. They just got debanked. Like the bank said, we can't bank it with you anymore. Like no reason.
Okay.
That happened to a whole bunch of people. Chase Bank did it, Bank of America did it, Wells Fargo did it, and they debanked people. And we're just like, yeah, we're not going to allow you to have an account here anymore. And it happened
Wow.
with a lot of people. And so the point is that it doesn't matter which side of the political aisle you sit on. It's just the fact that understanding how the system works, this is a game. Like money making is a game. And there's people who are way more, connected than we ever will be. And then there's people who aren't. And we're just going to have to kind of figure out a way to play in this system. And I found that out through the FDA saying no to a product, which the product was homeopathic, right? So, you know, call it what you want. It's, they just decided that it's takes away from drug revenue. So they're not going to use it. And so that shut down and it was instant. I saw orders processed the night before I went to bed. And I wake up every morning because we were global, right? And I wake up every morning and I see new orders that came in overnight and there were zero. And we hadn't seen that happen in a year, right? And I was like, this is weird. So I went and looked and it was like, oh no. And they're holding all of the money that hadn't been delivered to me yet. And so it was like, and I've never gotten that money, by the way, still. And that was back in
Wow.
2014. So it's like, but anyway, so I could get into all that. I have massive hatred for the banking system.
That is it. Well, you're not alone there.
No, yeah, no, I'm not.
You know, it's interesting. I just had to deal with a speeding ticket in Colorado, this tiny little podunk town in Colorado. And it's just this weird thing. And I'm talking to this woman who's, I don't know, front desk person at this
Yeah.
little town. I just picture a Barney Fife type town. And I went to pay it through the DMV of Colorado. And it's like the DMV says you don't have a ticket. So I call this lady and I'm like, I can't pay this ticket. And she's like, no, we don't work with the DMV. I'm like, oh, you're a town in Colorado and you don't work with the Colorado DMV? Like, nope, you got to go through this one. And so I call this number and this lady's, it just sounds like you're calling up your mom. This old lady answers. And I'm like, what kind of a shady deal is going on here? And then I'm thinking, like, is this legal? And I'm like, I don't know. Who are you gonna ask? And who would fight me
Right.
if it
You're gonna go to
wasn't?
the cop that gave you the ticket.
Yeah. Heck, it was such a weird, like, okay, we got to make sure we don't go through tiny little podunk towns like that again.
Or
Because,
just don't speed through them.
the funny thing was, funny haha now, is that the town is set up like it's a tourist town. Colorado, there's not that many roads. They
Right.
put mountains in the middle of the state.
Yeah. They're everywhere.
So
It's
we're
awesome.
going from Durango to Denver and we're going east and then north.
Yeah.
And there's only one highway that goes east. Like it's just unless you go through, like you can go north and then east, but you
Yeah.
went east and then north. Anyways, so the town is set up 55 miles an hour, 45 miles an hour, 55 miles an hour.
Ah,
And so I'm in this town trying to figure out like where are we going? What is this? And all of a sudden
yeah.
cop rolls up and I was doing 62. I thought I was 62 and a 55. I don't know. I'm in a rental car. The cop said I was
Yeah.
doing 62. I'm like, I don't know. I could have been doing 40. Could have been doing 60.
Yeah.
My wife is bickering, trying to figure out where we are. We got to get gas. We're in a rental car. Like there's 50 million things.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, what? Okay, 45 though? And I'm looking at a 55 sign. And then I looked in Google Maps to try to figure like, oh, this is their little moneymaker for a little more on tourists like me to roll through their little podunk town.
Yeah. That could be the case. That's a
I
good little
think
scheme.
it's probably pretty good.
Yeah, it's probably a good little scheme. Yeah.
Yeah. But from that, I'm like, this is a tiny town to bring in that kind of revenue because this guy can pull over two people an hour, let's say,
Yeah.
8 hour day. That's 16 tickets, couple $100 a ticket. That's pretty healthy money
Yeah, they're doing all right.
for doing nothing but telling people they're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
So anytime I hear stories about that with the government being like, nah, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Capitalism. Like, wait, that's not capitalism.
Yeah, right.
That's the opposite
I
of capitalism.
know.
Whatever that is. So that's
Yeah.
crazy that they could shut it down like that. And there's
I
no
I thought
notice.
no notice whatsoever. No, hey, change something, find a different merchant account, there was nothing. And then when I start calling around, I'm immediately like, I got to get another one set up really quick. Right. Well,
Yeah.
what's the fastest? Oh, PayPal. Right. And this is before like Stripe didn't even exist back then, really. And, and so PayPal's not going to let you do that product. Then I started going, okay, like first data and all these other, and like nobody. And I was like, this is crazy. And I find out that, yeah, it's just the product. And so then, you learn, and then you're in these communities and these forums, and like, you start to find out that people are like, oh yeah, this happens all the time, especially
Oh,
when you get into like supplements and you get into natural products. And so it was really interesting to kind of learn that. And I guess a supplement entrepreneur at the time, right? I probably should have learned that ahead of time. And I should have known this is a risk. But instead, I've got, these backed up orders that didn't process, that they place an order on the website. then I've got to figure out how to, fulfill it and all that, and then all the money that they held that I never got back, those people paid, they didn't get their money back. So I'm sitting here going, well, I can't refund them because I have no account anymore. They shut it down.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting here going, well, I can't refund them. So I can't collect money, but I still have to fulfill the product because then they could, charge me back. They could sue it. Like, who knows, And so
Yeah.
that was just not a fun time. And on to the
Man,
next.
that is crazy. All right.
Yeah.
And tell me about the marketing game. You found out that you're good at marketing. Marketing's pretty broad. You get
Yeah.
websites and
Yeah.
flyers,
Digital. I mean,
billboards, whatever.
it's looking more at like the customer acquisition side of things. Like, how do you get customers? What does that
Okay.
look like? And so, yeah, kind of, the week Facebook launched advertising, I started kind of playing with it then the first week and really kind of got, heavy into it. And I used that a lot in creating content and delivering content to customers and then moving them up an ascension ladder and things like that. And, yeah, so I got kind of good at it and I started doing a lot of, a lot of projects when I launched an agency and worked with Keller Williams, out in Austin, Texas, like the corporate, and helped them build up one of their coaching programs. And so it was kind of a good deal. And I was like, okay, I think I'm onto something here. And so, yeah, so that's how I launched the marketing game.
Nice. So tell me about the VAs that you had for the marketing thing. Because you got to find VAs that will do the job or know how to do the job or that you can train. So
Yeah, I mean,
how do you get
it's
that part
pretty
figured out?
easy to train people. I mean, I think that's the part that most people fail with when it comes to outsourcing. They look at, okay, I'm buying something and this guy has some experience with, like, let's say running Facebook ads. So great, plug them into the business and like just walk away. And that's all I have to do. And that's not true. I mean, they're still a team member and they need to go through the same training. They might have this, some of the core skill set, but they don't know how it works within your business. They don't know how to actually operate and function inside your company the way your company works. So there's definitely a training element to it. And that's where most people don't want to get involved. They don't want to train an outsourced team member. And then they, and that's the number one thing that we see is that communication sucks and they don't train the VA. And if they do, the results are easy. That staff member will be with them forever. There's tons of upward mobility. It's awesome. However, if you're not willing to just train on the front end, it's challenging. So yeah, so with the marketing stuff, I found people who had, kind of core skill sets that I was looking for. And I said, great, let me just teach you my way of doing it. Let's teach you our strategy, like our, methodology and all the stuff that we believe works and we see works and all that. And we just train people up, put them into our ecosystem and they ran the business.
Nice. So are these VAs domestic or they're
Now they're all in the
international?
Philippines.
Philippines. Okay.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
was
I've
there,
hired everywhere. So I started out with India, Bangladesh and, a lot of that, Pakistan, let's see where else. Sri Lanka, I did Vietnam. I kind of went everywhere and tested and tested and tested, had terrible results and terrible results. And it was mainly for like kind of what I was looking for. And then I came across the Philippines through hiring through another company and realized that they, like English is their second language. Street signs are in English, universities teach in English. They listen to our music, they, wear our clothes and they watch our movies. They culturally connect with the US really, really well with Western culture. And it was really easy. And the fastest way I figured it out is you take somebody from basically anywhere else and you say, do this graphic design project. Somebody from the Philippines, do this graphic design project, make it look, feel, and, be very much American. Philippines win every time.
really?
100% every single time because they understand the culture and they're in the culture. Like our team right now, we have 1,000 VAs. We get on a call and there's gonna be somebody wearing like a New York Yankees hat, right? Or there's gonna be somebody wearing, some sort of a football jersey. Like somebody's gonna be wearing something that is so American. It's like, how did you even get that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it just helps solidify, like, yeah, they are fans of our sports. They are fans of our music, of the movies that we make here, all of those things. And, they just connect with our culture. And so you would just see these two different designs. And that became like a huge, we get people all the time from India and Pakistan and everything that they want to work with our company. And then we go, great, come head to head with somebody else. And for what we need them for, I'm not saying that there aren't skilled people because some on the development side, on the program, I mean, there's some unreal people, but they just didn't have what we needed when it came to design, the eye, the editing, the things that we needed to make our business function. And so, yeah, so that's how we ended up with the Philippines.
Nice. All right. So
Yeah.
when you started working with VAs in the or wherever, were you working
Yeah.
with other companies or were
I
you
went
actually throwing
through,
up a want ad in the Philippines and hoping people
well, I
answer?
went through other companies first to try and figure out what I'm like, how do I manage them? I don't know how to manage them. Like, I mean, they're all the way over there. And, back then there's no Zoom, right? Slack didn't
Right.
exist. So you start thinking it's like you're using kind of some of these, Yahoo chat or, Google. I don't even know if Google had chat yet. But like there's so much of it that's just email back and forth. And so there's all these delays and there just wasn't as great of opportunity just to clearly communicate. Super, super simple. It wasn't as easy. And now it's like the easiest thing in the world. It's like they're all sitting in my Slack on the other monitor right now. They're all working, talking to each other, doing their thing in real time. And so it's a lot easier today. But back then it was I hired through other companies, tried to figure out what I'm doing. Then over time you start to learn how to recruit, like where are the best places to recruit. With the Philippines, I mean, there's so many islands and there's so many different areas. We don't necessarily recruit directly from like Manila, right? We go kind of all over. And that gives us just a broader perspective. It entices new people with different ideas. Yeah, it's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Tell me about the we have tried working with Philippines people with a call answering service that I have. We tried it one time with a large client that we had, and it was a train wreck.
Yep.
That is not to say, I mean, it certainly works for other companies, and it probably could work for us if we did it differently or with a different group or whatever. Million variables, right?
Depends what you're trying to do with them.
Sure,
So
sure.
I'd
What
say
we,
customer support,
yeah,
you're probably safer. You're safe there. The phone stuff, we go to Latin America.
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because we were having a problem with the pay per hour was less by a margin of probably I'm gonna say 30 to 60% less of what we're paying domestically, but the work output was half to a quarter of what we were
Mm-hmm.
getting domestically.
100%.
So I'm looking at the numbers and I'm like, man, hour for hour they're less, but actual job accomplishment for job
Sure.
accomplishment when we try to get it as close to apples, we're paying more.
On the call side, 100%. We don't offer call services
Okay,
because of that.
gotcha.
We just don't
Okay,
see it working specifically in the Philippines. When we do hire and we're going to outsource and we still want cost leverage, we look at Latin America.
got it.
And
Okay.
it's if you were to look at personality profiles, that's probably the easiest way to explain it. If you think about the personality profile of like a Philippine, team member, they're going to be very much like, yeah, you tell me what to do and I'll do it. Right? They're going to be very loyal in that sense. And they'll just get it done and they'll just do the work. But they're going to also be very passive. They're not going to be very proactive, forward thinking. They're not going to be aggressive. There's no aggression
No.
whatsoever. So when you get into the thing where maybe there needs to be some level of authoritarian positioning on a call, you're not going to get, I don't see you getting that in the Philippines. Are there anomalies? Absolutely. There's definitely people who do it. But on the mass scale, we don't see it. So we look at Latin America, where that like kind of to the point, brash, speed, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to get it done. That's different there. And they're okay with just like, I mean, it, if you've ever traveled to Latin America and you've ever been on a vacation, right? There are people who are walking up to you 1,000 times a day
Oh yeah.
trying to do anything, get something from you, sell you something. And it's like, there's a level of respect to it. There's a level of annoyance too, but there's a level of respect to it. You're like, these guys have straight guts,
Yeah, they're
right?
hustling,
They
hustling
have
hard.
no fear. And that is amazing, right? And they're just two totally different personalities. And I think that's wonderful. I think that's great.
Yeah, yeah, very true. It's
Yeah.
interesting because I learned this from a construction guy that he had a roofing company and he's like he worked with a lot of I think he had Mexican people, but he's like they didn't know English very well. So he's like I would tell them something and they would say okay or yes. And so in his mind they understood. And he's like, I learned you got to make sure that they can tell you back what they're saying
Yep.
or what they understand because they're saying yes to just get you out of the way. And so I learned the Philippines people, to your point, we're looking for leaders on the phone that can lead the caller. Let me schedule you, take care of your problem, whatever, solve whatever question that you have. And the
Yeah.
Philippines people were like, yes, sir. Thank you, sir. That is so great, sir. And they wouldn't get anything done.
No, they wanted to be led. They
Yeah.
wanted somebody else to lead. Yeah. To lead the
Right. So we
output.
needed the people answering the phone to be the leader, not the
Yeah.
follower, because the caller
Yep.
is like, I don't know what I want. Right.
Yeah. Different, totally different personality profile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I knew that. Whatever. I don't know. That was
Yeah.
pandemic, I think, when all that went down. But yeah, whatever. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Right.
Yeah. There you go.
So tell me, the Philippines people,
Mhm.
I want to ask you about payroll if you don't mind.
Sure.
Because I have an employee in Puerto Rico, and I thought Puerto Rico, that's pretty much just like United States Junior. That's no big thing. And my payroll company is like, whoa, we got international payroll.
Yeah.
And also, I'm like, Philippines? How do you work that out?
I mean, we do direct bank account transfer. So it's an international wire to get and disperse funds. You can use, I don't know if Puerto Rico's in there, but you should be able to use a company like wise.com or Payoneer or there's a whole bunch of them that for a small fee, they'll send your money.
No, we got it
Yeah.
figured out because we're more like getting people money was no problem.
Yeah.
Paying taxes and all that kind of stuff. That was the
Yeah. So we do everything and we independent contract everyone.
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Because otherwise, the only other way to do it was I would have to actually set up a company there
Mm-hmm.
and I would have to have a company in the Philippines, which has its
Physically.
own set of challenges.
Yeah.
Right. And then, because then that company would make no revenue technically, which is not a good thing. Like that's something people don't realize. Like in some of these other countries, if you have a company that doesn't make any money, that doesn't mean that you're not going to get fees and taxed and so forth. If money gets transferred in there, even though there's no revenue because it's going to be dispersed instantly, you're still going to get hit with things like fees.
Oh,
And so it didn't make any sense for us to structure it that way. So we structured it with everybody being independent, and then they're up, they run on their own. And so we
got
can
it.
do direct transfer into their bank accounts and all that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you vet a person to be
Whew.
a BA? Because they're across the ocean. And
Yep.
I'm thinking when I interview people, I'm interviewing remote. So we got Zoom. You have them
Yep.
do a few tests and stuff like that to figure out how
Same.
smart they are. But in the end, they're still not in the same room. You can't say like, "Oh my gosh, you stink," or "You're crazy," or whatever. I don't know. Maybe your brother took your test for you. I don't know.
Right.
How do you vet them?
Part of it is when we vet and we do testing, like, hey, we're going to give you a project. You need to be able to accomplish this. We're monitoring their screen.
Oh, all right.
So we actually want to see what they're doing while they're doing it. So then we kind of know. Um, so there's that piece of it. The other thing is we do background checks. So like real background checks and find out that they're not lying. Um, and then we actually call their references, like past employment. And most people don't do that anymore, which is hysterical because we ask for it. Everybody wants to know show us your previous work experience, but nobody vets that one piece of it that tells one of the biggest stories, and what was their output like? How, did they show up on time? How were they with other team members? Since they're virtual and you're virtual from them, how did that go? How did they communicate? We want to get into those. So we actually go vet through past employment and all of the references and figure that out. And so, but we have an entire staff that's in HR that does just that. And that's what, they recruit, they vet, they test, we make sure that they fit. Then typically when we say, yes, we're going to hire somebody, we actually bring them in. And because I own multiple companies, we always have projects going on. We put them to work in my businesses.
Oh, there you
And
go.
it's like, yeah, jump into my business. We've got a project over here. Let's say you're a graphic designer. Great. I need you to go create this, this, and this. We're looking at speed. We're looking at output. We're looking at quality. We're looking at accuracy. We're looking at, hey, this was the instruction compared to what the output, like all of those things. We actually get to see it in real time on something that we're going to use. So we have a vested interest in it actually coming out right. We want it to come out right because we need to use it internally for our company. And so when we actually get to see it and see it all happen and somebody's being paid for it, then we know the truth. And then we go, great, this person's awesome. Let's put them with the client. And that's
Nice.
how we do it. Yeah.
That is cool.
Yeah.
How are you finding them in the Philippines? Are there job boards or there?
There's all, I mean, everything. Job boards. There's, online, portals. There is, we actually recruit straight out of the colleges. So
Oh
that's
wow.
another thing that we do. Yeah, we have, headhunters. If there's somebody that, we need somebody who has super high level skill, then we might use a headhunter. So, but I mean, we have people who do nothing but recruit. That's all they do. And so they're leveraging every single thing exists. We also run ads in the Philippines on social media. And so then we bring in a lot of people from ads. There's a lot of filtering. So, we'll get tons of applications and then you have to filter them down and then you have to test them and, background checks and all that stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, it's a full scale process.
Nice. Tell me
Yeah.
about how you scaled your business, this particular business, when you start and you're like, hey, we're in the VA business now. And now you said 1,000 whatever people. How do you go from zero or lower to
Yeah.
more? Because there comes a point as you're growing, you're like, okay, now we need HR, now we need manager, now we need different layers of managers. Just tell me how that
That
process has worked for you.
Yeah, so that process kind of it came a bit organic because I didn't genuinely believe or I wasn't intending for it to scale as fast as it did. It kind of happened and I was like, "Oh, whoa, we hit like a really big need." And like we're solving this big problem and there's a lot of people coming. And so while we thought we would just like, okay, well, let's go get like, let's add on like 10 clients, right? Well, that 10 turned to 50. And it's like, whoa, hold on. Okay. So we run into bottlenecks and my way of doing things is like go run really, really fast and break shit and then fix it and then go run really, really fast and then break it again and then fix it. And so I've always been that way. My my finance director who helps us with kind of like, we just love to bounce ideas back and forth. He hates it. He hates it. It drives him crazy. He wants to do all this planning and he's like, we need to sit down, we need a budget. And I'm like, no, we don't. Forget it. Let's just haul ass, pump a bunch of cash into it. If it breaks, we'll fix it. If we fail, we'll fix it. And then, after something works, he's like, well, it's kind of like your way of doing things and it kind of works out. And I'm sure I could be much better at planning and strategically doing things, but there's just this level of I know that we'll beat other companies because like I'm okay taking less home personally to go push a bunch of cash into an idea and I'll go test it and I'll push the boundaries and we'll go fail really, really dramatically and in a huge way. And we'll lose, a bunch of money. But that lesson that I got that. And then we fixed it and we succeeded before everybody even tried once. And so the speed of which us moving has been one of our greatest catalysts in growing because it's okay. We can go fail. Like all of a sudden it's like, hey, we have all these VAs. We don't have anybody overseeing them. Okay, great. Who's awesome in that group? Okay, pull that person out. Now they're going to manage a group of people. And then we figure out, okay, that didn't work great because there's too many. We need one more person. And that we just figured those things out as we went. And then once we did it with one batch of growth, it's like, well, now we know we're going to grow again. So just replicate it and then replicate it and then replicate it. And that's kind of how we've built.
All right.
So it's not very fancy. It's not, I could replicate it in all of our businesses now because we just went through the process and now we have it documented and we know how to do it. But I don't think from zero, I could have opened up a book, followed somebody's philosophy and actually succeeded. We had to go make mistakes and figure it out. And that's just how we function. I think
No,
that's
I
how
get
I
it.
function, I should
That's the
say.
game. That's the entrepreneurial game, right? You're
Yeah.
like, I don't need an instruction manual.
Yeah. Well, that I look back and I go, man, I have lost so much money by not reading the instructions.
Oh, true story.
Yeah.
True story. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I guess it's just like IKEA furniture where you just like messing around with it and then you're like, wait, 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 wait.
Yeah. I
What
probably
does
should.
pole B do, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You just
Thank God,
take a
Montana,
moment.
we don't have IKEA.
Oh, that's awesome. So you have multiple businesses going on besides
Yep.
this one. What else you got going on?
Oh, let's see. So I still have my agency in the wedding industry.
All
Uh,
right.
we have the virtual assistant services company. I have well, this company or Visitor Match is kind of my core focus right now. It's a data services company. So we help identify anonymous website visitors. So identity resolution. We provide in-market data. So lead lists of very specific people who are searching for a particular service on the internet. And we provide the data for that. We help with prospecting by creating B2B lists and a prospecting strategy for people to go execute. So visitormatch.com is that one. We have a freight dispatching company called Flat Rate Freight. And that is virtual assistants acting as dispatchers for freight companies, which is kind of cool. And then the last one we actually just started kind of by accident is Premier Vacation Partners. So we actually do vacation incentives for companies where you've probably seen it. Hey, sign up for this and enter to win a free vacation. Well, we actually provide the vacations and that we actually provide the back end so a company can give away 5 nights in Mexico, 5 nights in Hawaii. And so my company now, a client can come to us and just say, hey, I want to be able to give away vacations. Cool. Pay a one-time, annual fee, and you can give away unlimited vacations to your clients. So it helps with acquisition. It helps with retention. It helps with employee retention, vendor referrals, getting reviews. Like there's all these different things that it works amazingly for. And so we help companies do that. And that kind of all came on accident.
How did you end up in the vacation business like that? That sounds
Yeah.
cool.
To be honest, somebody told me about it and they were just like, hey, there's this thing where people give away these vacations if like you buy a car. And I'm like, well, I wonder if you could do it for anything else. And so we just kind of started looking into it. And I'm like, I want to test this out. And so I started giving it away in the wedding industry. I'm a partner in 5 wedding venues. And so we book weddings. And I was like, well, what if we start giving these away for like honeymoons? You book a wedding with us, we'll give you a free honeymoon, right? It's just the hotel stay, but still it'll save them about 2 grand. And so, instead of spending that 2 grand at the hotel, they'll spend it at the venue. That's good for us. And so I started doing that and I'm like, oh, this like really works. And then we started doing it with clients and we tested it with like 100 clients and it was like, whoa, this really works. And I'm like, I'm onto something here. And so I said, but hold on. How do we brand this so we're giving these away and there's like kind of a ghost brand that isn't, my marketing company, because that would be weird if the marketing company is like using it to market. Like, and I wanted it to feel very like fluid for them. And so I just said, okay, let's just create a company around it. And then that led us into insurance companies and real estate and car dealerships and all these other things. And so that's how it started. And now I'm like, oh, that might be a big business.
And so the idea is you have the VAs essentially running these things, right?
Well, yeah. So the VAs run pretty much everything. Right now, I'm pretty heavy supporting Visitor Match right now because we have this massive growth goal. And so I'm doing a ton of strategic partnerships. We're doing a lot of like kind of higher end sales where a client will spend 100 grand a month with us and all these things. So I'm more involved in that right now, probably for the next year. And then I'll back away and it'll be run by VAs.
Tell me, let's just dig in more to the visitor match.
Yeah.
So somebody visits a website, they have an IP address.
Yep.
So, and then you, I imagine, have software that knows that IP address or has a database to compare it
Yep.
against, more or
We're
less.
drawing against, yeah, drawing against an identity graph database, right? So
Okay.
everybody's got a profile on the internet, right? If you have Netflix, we probably have your data. So the biggest thing that most people they have this theory that privacy on the internet is a thing, right? But what they don't realize is that when they signed up for Netflix or Hulu, or they got a credit card, or they got a bank loan, a car loan, a mortgage, or anything else, all their data is being sold. And Wells Fargo, Bank of America, the credit bureaus, Hulu, Netflix, they all sell your data. Now, the funny part is people go, oh my God, that's terrible. Well, how do you think they got you as a customer in the first place? They purchased your data from somebody else. And so they purchase more than they actually sell, but they all sell your data, they share it, they do all these things. And we all voluntarily give consent. We do it over and over and over again. And so those profiles already exist on the internet. And so what we can get is name, email, address, phone number, their physical home address. A lot of times, depending on where the data is coming from, we might have net worth. potential income level, if they have a car loan, if they have a mortgage, all of this data exists. And
Wow.
just by somebody visiting your website, there's two ways to connect. You can go IP, you can also go pixel. And so we put a pixel on somebody's website and we can do a pixel match, which is a one-to-one, like that browser hit that website. We know for a fact one-to-one, it's about a 96% match rate. On the IP side of it, it's a lot less. It's somewhere, around 35 to 50% match rate, but you're still getting enough that running ads to those is phenomenal. And so the data behind it, and then being able to say, well, if somebody hits my website, I can send them an email, I can send them direct mail, I can run an ad to them. My team could technically call them if we wanted to, right? I can social media posts. I can omni-channel approach my marketing just if somebody hits our website. That's amazing.
Wow. That is
And so
amazing.
that's usually, then we layer in one more piece, which is in-market data, which is people who are in the market for a specific service. So for example, my agency in the wedding space, if we just find people who are searching for a wedding venue right now, instead of running Google ads and trying to pay for somebody to click, I can just go get everybody who's searching the internet right now, who has buyer intent to book a wedding venue. And I can download the entire database. We can run ads to it. We can do direct mail. We can do cold email outreach. We can do a lot of stuff with it. And so when we combine those two services, it's like fire for for a small business. We can take what was a lot of wasted ad budget. If you imagine a typical website, you lose 90% of the traffic, they bounce. Well, if we recapture 50% of that bounce, and then you convert a percentage of the loss, you have a massive ROI growth. Like it is unreal. And so we can see the efficiency of every ad dollar. We can increase it by 200% like that. So it's pretty impressive.
Tell me more about a pixel, because I have to admit ignorance there.
So a pixel is a snippet of code that gets installed on a website in the head of a website. So every page that loads, that pixel it exists, right? And what that is supposed to do is capture the browser data, drop a cookie in their browser. You've heard the word, cookie consent and all that stuff. Drop a cookie in their browser and basically kind of follow them around the internet. And social media platforms do it, advertising platforms do it. And that's why when you visit a website, then you go to Facebook, you see the ad, right? That's because of cookie. It's all because of the cookie, the pixel retargeting. We can do the same thing where that browser, right? Right now I'm logged into my browser. My email address is logged in on my browser with my name, my email address. If I visit a website, it's going to take basically the data and it's going to say, hey, this person went to this website. Let's run an ad back to them on the thing that they're interested in on social media. And so that's how the pixel supports advertising.
Gotcha. Is that so? I know Europe has been a little bit more strict with the privacy
We
stuff.
don't do anything outside of the US.
Gotcha. Okay. And
Yeah.
the
So
US has looked at it and they're just like, nah.
it's a funny thing. So here's a really funny one. You go to a website and there's the cookie consent pop-up, right? Well, then there's like a little X in the corner that you just don't even want to deal with it. It usually says accept or decline. And then you go, if I accept it, it means cool, like I'm okay with using cookies. If I decline it, it means don't track my activity. If you click the X, that's the same thing as clicking accept.
Oh, interesting.
So a lot of people don't realize that. And so everybody gives consent everywhere. And it's like, what difference does it make? People are using it to advertise and make a better experience for you through, you're on their website. So you obviously are interested in something. And what they want to do is use the data that they can capture to improve the experience they deliver to you. So if you hit my website, you go 2 to 3 layers deep, and I know that you've looked at this kind of content, I can share value to you on social media based on where you went on my website. So now all of a sudden I know, oh, you're looking at dedicated virtual assistants for administrative work. And then all of a sudden there's Level 9 Virtual on the internet talking about how administrative virtual assistants can support your business, free up your time, increase your revenue, da, 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 da. That's a great experience. So
Yeah.
people getting upset about it, I'm like, why would you be upset because somebody can give you more value, then you're already looking. Let's improve the value. So
Yeah, it's one of those like nothing happens until a sale is made. So
that's right. Yeah,
people hate salespeople until they want to go buy something.
that's right. And then they're like, okay, let's make a deal
That's
happen. Let's
I'll
be
talk to you
friends.
fast, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
Oh, I get it because the privacy thing, it's creepy. It's creepy when you learn all that they have about you.
Well,
Uh,
I mean that's funny because how many of us all have iPhones, right? How do you take the battery out of your iPhone? Oh,
you
you
don't.
can't. That's right.
Yeah, you take a
So your
hammer
phone
to
is
it.
on even when it's off, and they can
Yeah,
listen to you. And and we know now, it is proven, it is documented, they do through your phone have access. Like this is actually an interesting thing. So a buddy of mine used to work for the Department of Defense, and they were talking about how when people get picked up at airports, right? Everybody thinks like, it's the movies, and they saw their face walk into the airport and they knew that this guy who was wanted went through an airport. It's the cell phones. That's how they catch everybody. And it's like, it has nothing to do with facial recognition. No, it's your cell phone. They know, oh, he's going to the airport. And it's like, they're waiting at the airport.
yeah.
So
You
anyway,
got
so I just
your
think,
tag right on there.
yeah. And it's like, I just think it's so, look, I get it. I don't want my children's identity all over the internet and all that. From a business perspective, the opportunity to leverage data should be a prime focus of every business moving forward. And we're
Huge.
seeing it, become more and more of that, which is the reason I launched the company. Data is currency.
Hmm.
That's the currency of business. He who has the most data will win. And as long as they're leveraging it, obviously, if they
Yeah,
hold data
right.
and don't do
Fair.
anything, yeah. But so anyway, so there's just opportunity for everybody, and some people take advantage of it, some people don't.
Yeah, I joke with my kid. I'm like, if you don't pay for the product, you are the product. When you're on social media and stuff
100%.
like that,
My
like,
kids will. I have this fantasy, and I keep telling my wife this. I'm going to sell some businesses, and I'm going to disappear from social media, and I will not exist on social media one day, and it'll be like the greatest day, and I'll throw a party and all that. And I don't want my kids to have social media right now. They're 9 and 11. I think that's way too young, but I'm like, maybe when you're 16, 18, I don't know. Maybe you have to wait till you're an adult to have
30.
social
Yeah,
media. I don't know. Because I mean, nothing good has come from children having access to this wide open space where anybody could put anything in front of them.
agreed. Agreed.
So I don't know. Yeah, I'm an old school conservative guy about stuff like that. I'm like, I want to protect my kids as long as I can.
No, my kid was reciting political ads when he's watching YouTube.
100%.
And I'm like, oh yeah, no. You we got to stop that.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. That
That
I
is no
think, it's unfortunate too that the way political advertising is allowed now is just so rotten. I mean, this is, kind of on topic, but it's the way that both sides can just essentially slander, and
Oh, yeah, it was one
and
after another.
it's just a
So,
lie, right? But
yeah,
it was funny, yeah, because you'd see one candidate versus another, and I'm not even talking the presidential. I'm talking about like local stuff,
everything.
and you're just sitting here, you're like, wait, hold on. Here in Montana, like we actually knew the guy who was running and ended up winning the Senate seat. And like we know him. Like my daughters and our kids are in the same class. Like we know their family. And to see the other guy like posting like these ads that were just like, I'm like, no, I know the guy. That's a lie. Like I know for a fact that's a lie. And it's totally allowed.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I don't agree with. I think what happened to just like we're gonna share our best parts of us and let the public decide. And
Right.
unfortunately, it's just this hate, and I don't know. It's just
Yeah,
not the way I would
mudslinging,
operate. I don't want
mudslinging.
to win in business by tearing down my competitor.
So agreed. Yeah,
That's and
thousand
that's
times.
the representation that it exists in business. I don't want to have to tear down my competitor and tell everybody how terrible they are just so that I could get some business.
Right. Use
Right?
me because I'm not as bad as them.
Yeah.
Not use me because I'm good. I'm
Yeah,
just
I
not
don't
as
like
bad.
that. That's just not my style. I don't know.
No, no,
Yeah.
totally agree.
But many
Totally
people
agree.
do it.
Yeah. Fair. I know we don't have a ton of time here, Joe, but I want to dig
Sure.
into the visitor tracking thing a little bit more.
Sure.
Because I look at companies you're talking about $100,000 a month, and most companies that are listening to this, I'm guessing, are not going to be in that wheelhouse.
Sure.
So, what is the smallest practical where they
Oh, I
invest the
think
money? It's going to be
like
a
600
reasonable.
bucks a month, I think. Like super
Wow.
cheap.
Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah, super cheap. You can get started if you're a small business and you don't have a lot of traffic, but
Yeah.
you still the whole goal is that we could figure out what like their CAC, their cost of acquisition
Yeah.
looks like today, and then we can reduce it and just help them build their business, help them get more customers. And the way that we leverage the data to do it is by giving them more of an omni-channel approach to reaching their customers. I always love this idea. Most mail marketing never gets inside the house, right? Like, so you get a flyer in the mail, you picked it up at your mailbox, you dropped it in the trash before you walk into the house. Most. However, if I happen to my kids mail to me, if I happen to get this and I see it and it says right on it, visitormatch.com, blah, 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 whatever the thing is that I'm trying to say, but this just gets dropped in the trash. Okay, great. Maybe that cost me a penny or 2 cents. Great. There was still some sort of recognition. So then this thing that never leaves our side and that people scroll on constantly, visitormatch.com for, here's this information. They see it again. Okay, wait a minute here, right? To recognition. Then they see it again. They get an email. They see it again. It's another social media post or ad and it's just constant and constant. That is the awareness that a brand needs. And
Yeah.
most people can't afford to blanket advertise the market to basically anybody and try to build their brand awareness. So I say, don't do that. Focus on people searching right now for your services. So if you're a plumber in Bozeman, Montana, and you want to blanket, typically you're not going to do the entire region. How about everybody who's searching? Why don't you just go after them first? Go after them. Go after people who are looking for some service similar, and start to brand yourself within your market to people actively looking. And because all the data it basically revolves, right? It's hey, this person is searching, if we're using in-market data, they're searching for plumbing services. Okay. They're searching for plumbing services. A new person looking for plumbing services. More and more people. That never ends. So you constantly get everybody new who's in the market searching, and you don't have to pay Google ads. You just get the data.
Oh, that's win right
Yeah,
there.
that's the ticket, right? Because if I run a Google ad, I can't also send them a piece of mail. I can't also send to the exact same person on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, wherever. I can't do all of it to that exact same person. So what we're trying to do is say, look, we can pinpoint the human being and we can send them all of these different things, and it'll increase your potential of actually getting them as a customer. That's what we're trying to do. And we're
That
doing
is
it very effectively for small
that is
businesses.
incredible. I was talking to other marketers or people trying to sell marketing, really sell advertising, and they're talking about
Yeah,
building brand. And I'm like, these small companies, Joe Bob the
they
plumber,
can't.
whatever, he's
They
not
can't.
Nike. He's not trying to get people to recognize his logo. He's trying to get people to call up when they got a
That's right.
sink issue. So when he's
Yeah,
showing up right away, when they look like how to unclog a drain or something like that, and he shows up, rock
that's
and
what
roll,
they're
man,
after.
here we go.
Yeah, that's
That's
right.
beautiful. I love that. Joe, thank you so much. You mentioned a few businesses. Would you mind
Yeah.
sharing some of those links just so that people can find you?
Yeah. So for the data services, visitormatch.com is the data services. So if you want anonymous website visitors identified, we got it. Virtual assistant services, level9virtual.com, level9virtual.com. If you have any questions, you can book a call. Our team's super helpful when it comes to that. Let's see, what else were we? I mean, those are the two that I think your audience would probably find value with.
Yeah.
Unless you have wedding venues on here, weddingbookingsystem.com, but I doubt that.
We have interviewed some people that do wedding
Oh
stuff.
yeah, weddingbookingsystem.com. Like, come on. Yeah, we have a really, really significant, marketing agency in that space, and we've just evolved it over the years, and I think we're on the seventh version of our marketing system, and it's been pretty cool. So yeah, we're
Nice.
really excited about it.
I love it. Well, Joe, thank you so much for being on the
Yeah,
show.
my pleasure. I love it. Thanks.
And Montana, I don't know if I've interviewed anyone else from Montana. So
I
that's
hope not.
usually they're all
Neither one.
East Coast, West Coast, or
Yeah.
down south somewhere. That's funny. I'm in Wisconsin. People are like, where? Right?
Yeah.
We're the place that's miserable 90% of the time.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Have you ever seen the videos of those guys who do the Midwest videos and they joke about living in the Midwest? And they,
No,
oh
I
my
mean, I
God.
know Charlie Barron's a comic locally here, but
No, no, no. It's these guys who have videos I don't know if they're on YouTube or whatnot, but they are hysterical and they're just kind of funny guys about what it's like living in the Midwest and how people treat each other. And, when an outsider comes in, they're like, why do you live in the Midwest? And they're like, well, and do you guys have great summers? He's like, oh no, dude, it's blistering hot. We got huge bugs. It's ridiculous. Well, okay, are the winters nice? And they're like, oh no, it's freezing, and the wind chill and all this stuff. And they're like, oh, what about spring? And they're like, what's spring? It kind of goes from from
right,
winter to summer. No, there's no spring. And they're like, then why do you live there? And they go, oh yeah, we have a good 2 weeks in the fall. And it's like,
right.
yeah, there's
Oh, that
some
is
really
so
good
true.
videos about the Midwest. I love it. Yeah.
That is so true. Yeah, we get spring is 2 days long. I love it.
Yep.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I was listening to a stand-up comic and he moved to I think he was talking about Ohio or something like that. And he's like, people just say hi all the time. People that I don't
Right.
know, they're just like, how's it going? And I'm like, he's from New York. So he's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
what
No,
are
we
you
get
doing
that.
saying hi?
It's funny because like people come, yeah, they even come to Montana and they call it the 406 rule, right? So the area code in the state of Montana is 406, right? I joke with my family. I'm like, you guys realize like, so we're kind of from the Sacramento Valley in Northern California. And I'm like, in like the Sacramento and the suburbs, there's more people in just that area than the entire state of Montana.
Oh
Like
yeah, I bet.
there's nobody here, right? There's like a million people in the entire state. And so like there's this 406 rule. And it's when you're driving, you wave on if you're on a 2-lane road, small 2-lane road, not a highway, but like if it's a dirt road, especially. But if you're on a small road and somebody passes you, you always wave to them.
Oh, that's funny.
And most people do it. You're holding on to the thing and you just give them the two fingers, right? And
Yeah.
that's off the steering wheel. And when people don't do it, like people here have a problem with it. Like they don't wave when they drive by. If you're the neighbor in like on a dirt road and you don't wave when you pass somebody, everybody's talking about you. Just so you,
Uh,
yeah, it's wild. Yeah, but I love it because like I grew up in a small little farm town in Northern California, and it was always that way. It's like everybody waved to everybody said hi, and then it felt the same when we came here. So that was great.
yeah, that's just it's a very friendly place. I mean, despite the fact that most of the weather's terrible, I get the impression that people are friendlier here. I'm sure it evolved out of necessity, right? Like, hey, we're out of wood and
There
it's
you
30
go.
below. So I
Yeah,
better have waved to that neighbor to get a couple logs here.
that's right. Yeah, we're gonna need a favor at some point.
We're in California, just like, man, it's 75 degrees all the time. We don't need to wave to
Yeah,
anybody.
right.
Screw them.
Yeah.
I know. At any rate, Joe, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, you got it, man. Appreciate it.
This has been Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggle stories and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. My name is James Cademan, and Authentic Business Adventures is brought to you by Calls on Call, offering call answering services for service businesses across the country on the web at callsoncall.com. And of course, the Bold Business Book, a book for the entrepreneur in all of us, available wherever fine books are sold. If you're listening or watching this on the web, if you could do us a huge favor, give it the big old thumbs up, subscribe, and of course, share it with your entrepreneurial friends. We'd like to thank you, our wonderful listeners, as well as our guest, Joe Rare of Level 9 Virtual. Joe, can you share those websites one more time?
Yeah. If you want data services, anonymous website visitor matching, in-market data, visitormatch.com. If you are looking for virtual assistants, level9virtual.com.
And that's level, the number 9.
Number
virtual.
9virtual.com. Yes, sir.
Awesome. Just out of curiosity, really quick, tell me about Level 9. Where'd the name come from?
That's so funny. I get asked that all the time. It took me a long time to recall, and I actually found the thread between some of our original team when we first started. We had somebody who was into numerology, and 9 is a power number because it's a multiple 3, right? So 3s are power numbers, and 9 is 3 3s, and it was like, and we were going through all these crazy stupid names, and I was letting them name the company, and we were talking about, like, leveling up your business, but level up didn't make sense. And we were trying all these different things. And it was something about like hitting this level of power and this level of authority in your business and this level of success. And 3s are very, very much power numbers in numerology. And I don't know much about numerology, but we actually found the thread of us all chatting back and forth, trying to figure it out. And it was pretty cool to know, but a VA came up with the name.
Nice.
Yeah. And I rolled with it.
That's rock and roll, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is super cool. Past episodes can be found morning, noon, and night at the podcast link found at drawincustomers.com. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next week. I want you to stay awesome. And if you do nothing else, enjoy your business.